Hey guys, what's going on? Ed here, and today is New Year's Eve. So I figure as the year of 2014 closes, I might as well make a video to kind of reflect and look on all the models that I did this year. I gotta talk about some stuff that's going on, some stuff that's going to be coming up in 2015. So without further ado, let's get started and looking at what I made this year. Now these first two kits I did not make in 2014. These were actually made in 2013, but these were around right when the year was turning. I made the RX in October, and I believe I made the Zaku in late December. So I'm still counting them anyway, because I never really did a 2013 build video. The 1 Year War RX 78-2 Master Grade was given to me by my friend Alan as sort of a start of a Kickstarter for me with starting building again, and I hadn't really built anything in a while, and I really wanted to get it back into painting and doing Gunpla, and he generously donated the funds to me so I could pick up a model, and I decided to do the RX 78-2, and I also decided to hand paint the entire thing, and I think it turned out pretty good. It's one of my favorite models to date, just because it's one of the first ones that got me started back on my whole Gunpla kick. The decals were also given to me by Justin, and I think Henry might have given me some, but I'm not sure about this one. But it was built with the effort and donations of friends, and it means a lot to me. This Zaku 2 here was also hand painted in one of my first weathering jobs. Again, it wasn't really the best job that I've ever done, but I still really enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun. I really liked painting this guy. I remember how happy I was when I finished it, so this kit does have a lot of good memories for me. This little guy here was the very first build that I did in 2015. It is the high-grade Universal Century F91 Gundam. This was given to me by, I believe, James Spider Y2K or Spider 2K on YouTube. I think he's the one who gave me this one. Well, either way, thank you, James. Yeah, this one was almost all hand painted except for the white. The white I did spray on just because I hated hand painting white so much. And I remember kind of stepping it up with this kit a little bit. I fixed the hand here so it wasn't didn't have a hole in it. I do wish I had had an airbrush at the time so I could have airbrushed the shield with cool details on it. But either way, this is what I got. This was a model that I half hand painted, half airbrushed because I got my airbrush during the time while I was working on it. So I decided to finish it off by airbrushing the kit since I didn't really want to paint more of the purple on. I was kind of having trouble getting even layers with all the purple, so I got the airbrush and I switched to that, and I blasted out the last couple of sections that I needed to do, and I think it turned out pretty well. I never really did a video or even a photo shoot on this guy because I think I messed up a lot on it. I kind of messed up on some areas where you can still see the pinkish plastic underneath, and I didn't really like it too much. So I wasn't really overly satisfied with the build, but there were a couple things on it that I really did enjoy and I kind of experimented with. I really enjoyed painting the radar dishes on there and on the back there. I really enjoyed painting the gun details and everything on that. I also really enjoyed the fact that I replaced some of the upper details on the shoulder pads with Kotobukiya detail parts to make it kind of, I don't know, not really upgraded, but I don't know. It was an alright build, and I had fun with it. I mean, I have fun with all my builds. I just didn't really feel like I needed to give this one a photo shoot because it was kind of a test project for me, but either way, it happened, I finished it, and here it is. And lo and behold, my first airbrushed kit, the Gundam Virtue from Gundam 00. This was one of the kits that Henry gave me. I believe he gave me this one for my birthday, and he gave me the decals for it and everything. And once I got the airbrush, I decided to kind of test it on this guy, and just kind of test my abilities with it. It was the first time I ever pre-shaded anything. It was the first time I ever attempted shading. It was the first time I ever attempted an enamel wash, because I painted with acrylics back then. This was all done with my older acrylic paint. And it's not my best build, it's not my favorite build, but for my first airbrushed paint job, I think it turned out alright. This was before I switched to my airbrush top coat, and I was still using Testors in the rattle can top coat, which essentially looks pretty similar. It gives off a really similar flat finish than the Alclad for the airbrush, but I'm still glad that I switched over to this eventually. But this was a very fun kit to do. And it was the first time that I ever used an airbrush, so for the first time, I think I did pretty good. And here is my GM 2 AUG use. I saw a paint job, I believe it was on Modeler's G, where someone took a Gym 2 and they painted it in the AU colors. And the AU colors are more of a darker green, but somebody did them up in this really awesome like aquamarine blue color, so I decided to kind of go with that for my build, just because I really wanted that. This was the first time I ever tried scribing lines. I scribed these two panel lines in the shield here, and I did some in the front skirt here. I don't think I did them anywhere else on the kit, but this was one of the first times I ever really experimented with custom colors on an airbrushed or a hand-painted kit. I just kind of wanted to go with this lighter bluish color. I think I got the shading really well on the the shield here. I don't know if you can really see it, but I shaded it with a darker bluish green around the aquamarine colors, and I think the shading turned out pretty good. Aside for a hiccup on the front skirt here, I really liked the colors and what I did with this one. Next up, we have one of my favorite pieces that I've ever done, and I'm sure it's a favorite of anybody that follows my work, the 1/100 Crossbone Storm. This is the first custom scratch built kit that I ever did, and I did it for a contest for the It's a Gundam Facebook group. I forget which month it was, but I did it a while back. This was still painted, still when I was doing acrylic painting with my airbrush. This was basically a cross between the 1/100 Astria Gundam, the Master Grade Exia, and the Master Grade Crossbone Gundam. Since I had 3 of them just kind of lying around and they were all missing parts, and I decided instead of just keeping them scrapped together in a box, why not combine them and make a really cool custom Build Fighters suit. So this would be my suit if I was in Build Fighters. It's equipped with 2 different swords. It has sort of a... Everyone says this is a GN, GN Murasame, but it is not GN because the Crossbone Storm has all of the GN bits removed. I made sure of that. It does not have any of the Trans Am or GN condenser abilities that the Exia previously had. I just decided to remove all of them. It does have the green condenser on the head and the chest still, but those are just purely for decoration. Yeah, a lot of this kit was scratch built together using Milliput and Tamiya putty, and a lot of different other building materials and different tools. A lot of scratch building went into this, as you can probably see all over the kit. One of my favorite models, and definitely one of my more popular models among all of my builds. It wasn't my best build. Honestly, a lot of the scratch building on it is very rough, and it could have been sanded a lot more. I think if I put a little more time into my next custom, it'll turn out a lot better. But overall, I think it turned out really nice, and it definitely is one of my favorite kits that's in my collection. It holds a very special place in my heart, because it was one of the first times that I ever really branched out and went out of my norm of doing just canon builds and kind of went crazy with a custom. Honestly, I'm really proud of it, even though there are, again, a lot of mistakes all over it. I did pretty much whatever I wanted to it, and just letting my creativity flow was a lot of fun. So I definitely will be doing a new version of the Storm, possibly in 2015, but some point in the future I will be doing another version of it, an updated version with better painting, better weapons, and just an overall tweaked design. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this one. After I finished the Storm, I decided to kind of do a simpler build, and I did the high grade GP01. This is one of my favorite Gundams ever, and I had the high grade, and I was still using, I still used acrylics for this one. But I had a ton of fun with it, and I know I say that for every build, but I really do have fun with every single one of my builds. And I think that's all you can really ask for in a hobby that's, like this. As long as you enjoy your build and you have fun with it at the end of the day, that's That's the best thing. But anyway, this kit was heavily shaded. I think it was shaded a little too much. I didn't use colors for the shading, I just kind of shaded with black. And I kind of got reamed on that one because you're supposed to shade with colors, and honestly they do look a lot better when you shade with colors. But I still really liked this. I think it turned out pretty good, and I even did a little core fighter for it. And I made all of the colors accurate as possible because this was all molded in blue, this was all molded in gray, and I did a lot of masking. This was oh yeah, this was also the first kit that I did a lot of masking on. I masked off a lot of parts for the backpack and a lot of parts for the little cameras and this and that. As you can see, the backpack has the wings folded up. This was all gray. Has the wings folded up on the back as a detail, so I decided that I better paint those in. I did mask off some of the cameras on the chest, some of the little bits and pieces all over him. And I think the masking turned out pretty well. So yeah, that was the first time that I ever experimented with masking. And this was also the last kit that I used acrylics on before I switched over to enamels. This was one of the first models that I ever painted with enamels. Actually, it is the first model that I ever painted with enamels. And this is the high-grade G30th Gundam. And you might not tell that by looking because I modded the crap out of this kit. I took all of the seam lines and sanded them off using Tamiya putty, and I reconstructed part of the kit. I used the V-fin from the original the original MSV full armor Gundam because I had a spare one lying around. I also used the backpack from the original high-grade RX-78 because it has more of a simplified look than the G30th. And I believe I may have used the rifle. No, the rifle's from the G30th. But I did give it new hands. I changed the stock hands up because I didn't really like how strange and blocky they looked. But overall, this is the first kit that I ever braved using enamels on. I was very scared to use them at first, and I think it turned out really nicely. I was really happy with how I shaded it. I shaded it with colors instead of just using black that I've used for everything else, or that I had been using for everything else. On my first 4 shaded kits that were all done with black, I finally decided to kind of step it out of the box a little bit and change it up to colors. And I honestly never want to go back to just using black for everything because the colors look so much nicer. And this remains to be one of my favorite kits in my collection because the RX-78-2 is one of my favorite suits, and it's so iconic. And you can pose it with pretty much any other Universal Century high grade that you make from the early One-Year War era because it just goes well together with everything. I recently did a couple Universal Century high grade kits that are from around the Gundam era, including, well, I'll get to those in a minute, but overall it's really nice to kind of do them together just because it's great for photo shoots, and I don't know, it's just really nice to have a really nice sort of animation style version RX-78-2 in my collection, especially because I did it and custom modded it all by myself. And I'm really proud of this one. In the future I'll probably make a second version, a different version that's done a little bit better. There's a few things on here that are kind of rough. A couple of the seam lines kind of cracked, and the wash wasn't that good. But I think now I'm comfortable enough with my modding and modeling ability in general that I can try a 2.0 and I'll really enjoy it. So, see, in the future I may make another one of these, but I definitely want to get the G30th and make all of the other versions of the RX with it. I really want to make the G3 colors and the real type colors with this. And I'd also love to get I believe it's the G-Falcon, whatever it's called, the big thing that flies around with the cannons on it, and do that up and pose this with that, and I think that would make a really nice photo shoot. But anyway, I'm rambling. This is one of my favorite kits that I did this year, so on to the next one. The next kit that I did after the RX was the high-grade Gerber Tetra. And the Gerber Tetra started something that was really cool with me and my friends, and we decided to kind of put together a group to do builds, and we call ourselves the Goof Troop. And every month we all get together and, well, not really get together, it's an online group, But we all pick a kit every month, and we built it. And we decided for our first month, I believe it was June or July, to do Gerber Tetra builds, and here's mine. I think it turned out pretty well. I did the shading on this really nicely, and this is one of my more proud moments in modeling, because this was the first time I ever started doing weathering, and I got instantly addicted to it. On this kit I did a lot of chipping with silver, and I added a little green gem in there in the head. I did chrome for the thrusters, and I just really love it. It turned out really nicely, and at this point I had started switching over to the Alclad top coat for the airbrush instead of using the spray can. I don't really know why, I just did. And I'm really glad that I did. And again, I'm really happy with this one. I think the shading turned out really nicely. I think the chipping turned out pretty good. And I even went to enter this one in the New York City Comic-Con Gundam Builders World Cup competition, along with one of my other kits that I'll get to in a minute. But I decided to throw that one in the ring because out of all the kits that I'd done in the past, I felt like this was my best work at that point. And honestly, I think it was. I was really happy with it, and yeah. And I've found a whole new respect for the Gerber Tetra after building and modeling this kit. I just really love it, and this one will always have a special place in my collection because, I don't know, it's one of my favorites. I find, like, I did the shading on the red really nicely. I really love shading reds now, and I think that's about it. I really, really enjoyed doing this one. After several months of being jealous of my friend who is obsessed with resin and loves doing resin, Justin decided to get me addicted to it by doing a little build-off with me with this. This is a resin Zaku 2. This is a really awesome resin kit that Justin just donated out of his pocket. Didn't really donate, I guess you should say. He just supplied it because it was for a build-off between the two of us. This is a resin kit by Magic Cast, and this was the first resin kit that I really completed and felt good about. Years ago, I did. Probably nobody even remembers this because this was on my old channel. It was, I don't even think I put it on my old channel, but it was a 1/144 scale new Gundam. It was a resin kit, and I did terribly on it because I did not know what I was doing with it, and it ended up breaking and falling apart and just looked awful. Oh god, that poor thing. And then I did do a second resin kit, probably about 2 years ago, and it was a Gyan Krieger, which is just a different version of the Gyan with a lance sort of thing. And that one I didn't really do too good on. I hand painted the entire thing, but it kind of fell apart. I didn't really top coat it. But either way, this is the first resin kit that I feel like I've completed in a sense. I learned how to do pinning. I learned proper washing techniques. I learned how to basically how to do a resin kit from start to finish from the tutorials Justin posted and everything that I asked him about it. So this was my first resin kit, and it got me started on a addiction to resin because resin is so much fun to do. Basically there's no seam cleanup. There's a lot less trimming, and well, there is trimming because each part has a section, but they're just bigger resin chunks instead of all the smaller nubs that normal plastic models have. And it was a lot of fun to do. I loved doing this kit, and just learning how to do resin on something small and simple is really nice. Never push yourself too much. But now that I've done this, I'm ready to tackle some bigger ones. I do have a 1/100 resin kit of the Gerber Tetra that I do plan on doing in 2015 at some point. And that should be a lot of fun. But thank you, Justin, for this kit and getting me addicted to resin. This kit is really special to me for a number of reasons. First of all, the story behind the kit. Long time ago, when I was on Tumblr for a little while, well, I still am on Tumblr, but I was on Tumblr more actively, I guess I should say. A person I was following posted that he had gotten a snapped 1/100 crossbone in the mail. And I, out of the desperation that I really, really wanted this kit, he accepted a trade from me, and upon learning that it was his favorite kit. The Crossbow Gundam was his favorite Gundam. I felt kind of bad about it, but he said he was willing to trade it to me because he really loved what I was doing with my work, my paint jobs and everything. And it ended up in a sort of a trade deal where I gave him a bunch of stuff and he gave me a couple things. And I got this kit, and by the time that the kit had actually gotten to me, him and I were very, very close friends. And it is my friend Jeremy. He doesn't have a YouTube, but he's very active on Facebook. He's part of my build group, and he's one of my absolute best friends. Jeremy and I started just talking a lot and playing games together, and just ended up being really good friends. And then when October kind of got near, he said, "Hey, why don't you come down for New York City Comic Con and enter in the Gundam Builders World Cup, and you can stay at my house, and this and that, and, you know, why don't you do that?" And I thought, well, sure, but what kit am I gonna do? And then I decided, what better kit to do than the kit that started our friendship, the Crossbone Gundam here, the Master Grade Crossbone that he had traded me that started our friendship. And you really can't see it in the video, but it's very shaded, well, not very heavily, but it's very lightly shaded with blue, and the head is, or not the head, the yellows are shaded with orange, and it was one of my best clean paint jobs that I've ever done. I didn't do any weathering on it, and I think it turned out pretty great. It wasn't really, you know, winter material. It's a very basic, clean paint job that I don't really think the judges really looked at it too closely because it didn't really look that outstanding, but that doesn't matter. It was really great to go there and have it into the display case and have it kind of alongside Jeremy and his kit that he did, which he built using the parts that I traded him for this guy. So it has a really long, interesting story behind it that started our friendship, and this kit is one of my favorites in my collection. Each one of my kits has a story, whether it be big, long, special, or not really that special at all. But each kit does have a story, and this one really has one of the best in it. I'm really glad that Jeremy decided to trade me this kit that one day, and that started this really long friendship with him. So, thank you, Jeremy, and I wanted to show this off really quick. I showed this off in one of my other videos, but this was the badge that I got for participating at the World Cup in New York City Comic Con, and I will be there again next year. On my way back from New York City Comic Con, I stopped at Gundam Planet and decided to pick up a couple things, including this, the high-grade Universal Century Zeong. Zeong is one of my favorites, kits, suits, whatever. I don't know why everyone thinks it's ugly. Well, I mean, I don't know why I like it, and everyone says it's ugly. I like it, though. And doing the high grade was a lot of fun. It was a little stressful due to some of the annoying seam lines on it. It does have two seam lines under the arms right around here, and I fixed them. And after a really long time of sanding them, once I was assembling the kit, they kind of snapped and opened up again. And that was really frustrating. But overall, after I applied the top coat, as usual, I was really satisfied with the build. And it was a really fun kit to do. I really don't like building legs on kits, so this was especially a treat for me. I also did a lot of chipping on it, and I experimented with Gundam Real Touch markers to do some streaking and weathering here on the kit. And I used chrome for the first time, Alclad chrome, and clear Alclad blue to kind of do this thruster effect, which I really like. Even though it's not really weathered or realistic. I don't know why I chose to do that, but I really like it, and I'm really glad that I did. So yeah, this was a really fun kit, and I'm really glad that I picked it up at Gundam Planet when I was there. It was the last one on the shelf, too. So it was destiny that I built this kit. One of the final kits that I did for 2015 is this, the Goof Custom. And this is the high grade, but it's not the high grade Universal Century. This is the original high grade from the 08th MS Team OVA line from 1998. This is a pretty old kit, a lot of seam lines on it, a lot of fixes that needed to be done, but I did it. I heavily weathered this kit, and I was really glad that I did. I experimented with kind of rust, streaking, a lot of different things, chipping, just a lot of different things in general that I applied to make this kit kind of different and really experiment on my weathering. And exactly a year, I basically started this kit and finished it exactly a year after doing my Zaku from the beginning of the video. So it was really interesting to see my differences in weathering, how far that I've come with changing my weathering style and improving on it. And it was a really fun project to do to kind of test that. And I thought this was going to be the last project before 2015 rolled around, but I did one more. This is the high-grade Universal Century Twin Ball Set. And this was part of my group's December build. We had to basically build balls. Any kind of ball that you wanted, we could customize them, but of course I just decided to build them Canon style with shading, weathering, decals, and all that sort of thing. And I whipped these out in about 2 days, which is probably the fastest build that I've ever done. Nice chipping and streaking and all that good stuff that I like to put on my builds on these. They have decals all over them, and the decals match each other to a Q, except for this one has obviously 41 and this one is build or ball 42. Just kind of two random class, or not class numbers, but like production numbers, I guess you would say. Really love doing these. Tons of fun, very easy little Universal Century kit to do, and I've been meaning to do them for a long time. I've had them in my collection for a while, so it was nice to kind of finally knock them out of the park before 2015 rolled around. So that about wraps it up for 2014 for me. It was a really great year, and I did so much awesome stuff. I went from completely hand painting acrylics to airbrushing enamels. I went from snap fitting kits and just doing minor paint details in 2013 all the way to this, where I am now. It's amazing, and I really couldn't have gotten here without my friends and all the people in the Gundam community. I have said this so many times, but it's so amazing. Since I've gotten into the community, I have changed as a person for the better, I think, and nothing has really been as fulfilling as this hobby for me. And I did want to make a video a while back, but I never managed to. I reached 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I really wanted to thank everybody for that. And if you've been with me up until this point, thank you, but get ready for some total new stuff. 2015 is going to be a huge year for me. There's so many different new styles of painting and modding and a lot of other stuff that I'm going to be doing. I'm also going to be changing my review style completely. It's going to be totally different. And I do plan on just upping the quality of my YouTube content a lot. As I've upgraded my modeling, I plan on definitely upgrading how I present myself on YouTube and how I do all that sort of stuff. So thank you if you've been with me up until this point, and I hope all of you have a really great new year. And yeah, so that's about it. I'm looking forward to the future with you guys. So thank you again to everybody that has helped me get to this point. Just so many people that have really been there for me, and gotten me through just a lot of really negative stuff that I've been going through. And it's just really nice to know that I have friends like you guys out there. So that's about it, guys. Stay tuned for my next video that will most likely be on my first kit of 2015. And that should be fun. So I'm going to cut it there, and I will see you all next time. Here's to a great 2015, and Happy New Year, everybody.